All right, if I could have your attention, please. Attention, please. We need all the inductees and their escorts to report to the lobby. Please, at this time, all inductees and all their escorts, please report to the lobby. As always happens this evening, there are certain people here tonight that aren't part of a particular group or are not at a reserved table. So what I'm asking is, if you have empty seats at your table, you know you have an empty chair or two or three, please put your hand up so we can feed these people who are not part of a particular reserved table into a seat. So if you have empty chairs, hands up so we know how many can sit at your table. I have 3 chairs available right up front here. Rosie and Tony, oh, you have chairs? Okay. And I have 3 up front. I have 3 chairs up front at table number 1 available up here. You got 2, okay. Does everybody seem good? Does everybody have a seat? Everybody has a seat because we have some open spots to feed some folks into. All right, it looks like everybody has a seat. Everybody seems satisfied or has a spot to sit down. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get this evening started. One thing, I got to do this 2 years ago, and I love having the ability to do this year. So before we start the ceremonies, I just have one thing to say. How about those Red Raiders last night? Seems to me I read somewhere that this was the year Downingtown West was going to beat Coatesville and win the Chestnut. And as my buddy Lee Corso says on game day, not so fast, my friend. So those Red Raiders, with a win next Friday, will be Chestnut champs again. So we're going to get started here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to the 20th, yes, the 20th annual Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, or as it's become known around the area, the Coatesville Family Sports Reunion. My name is Scott Kershey. I am the current president of the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, and I will be your master of ceremonies tonight. Thank you. We begin our evening with a tradition we started a few years ago, and that is a procession of our inductees, and they will be escorted by a member of our Hall of Fame committee. So we're going to start our procession, and please, it's okay to give everybody applause. So we'll be starting with our special recognition award winner for tonight, Justin Theroux, escorted by Rob Fisher. Next, we have our Max Stuber Memorial Award winner. That is Mr. Len Frampton, escorted by Tina Stuber. And now on to our inductees. First up, Coach Harold Ziegler, being escorted by Ernie Perella. Next up, Michele Bivona Sawka, being escorted by Gary Gill. Please know what a trooper Michele is being here. We had a real scare, she said, Wednesday night. The baby almost came, but she's here. Next up, we have Ryan Shaver, escorted by Dave Lapp. In your program is Dave Entriken. Dave is not able to be here this evening, but he will be represented later on by John Gathercole. Next up, Alex Norman, escorted by Ross Kershey. Next up, Nikki Lise Sylvester, represented tonight by her parents Donna and Bill Lise and her son Tommy. Escorted by Bob Coulter from the committee. Our next inductee, Ameen Garnett, escorted by Ruth Martin. Our next inductee, Tim Griffiths, escorted by Paul Garver. Next up, Laurie Pickering Welsh, escorted by Terry Johnson Lynch. Our next inductee, Carl Taylor, escorted by Carl Smith. And our next inductee, Tim Duff, escorted by Jeff Chalfant. It's a very nice thing. I like doing that, having our little procession of inductees to start the evening. Now I would like to introduce Carl Smith, have Carl come up here, and Carl will deliver our invocation for this evening. Carl?
Good evening. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. Let's look to our Lord. Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for the opportunity to celebrate the achievements of these men and women. We thank you for the opportunity to be able to see them, to talk with them. We pray that the things that we do this evening would be pleasing in your sight, that we'd enjoy the time. We ask you now to bless the food, the hands that prepared it, and our fellowship together. We pray it in your name. Amen.
At this time, as we do every year, I would ask that everybody please rise, and we are going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then please remain standing because we are going to have God Bless America afterwards. So, I will start us off. I think everybody remembers this from our school days. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now at this time, as we've done many, many years now, Hall of Fame member Rosie DeSanctis will lead us in a verse of God Bless America. Rosie? You're right there.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountain to the prairie to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Yes, we brought in a ringer for that. Rosie appeared on Broadway for many, many years as a singer and as a member of our Hall of Fame for basketball, graduating from Coatesville in 1982. We are doing some special things to celebrate our 20th, that's right, 20th anniversary tonight. I'd like you to please note the 5 posters that we had made up especially for this evening and put in the back. We're giving an extra special award this year. And in breaking with tradition, as many of you know, we have a new superintendent of schools for Coatesville School District. And at this time, I'd like to have our new acting superintendent, Dr. Rick Dunlap, make a few comments for the Hall of Fame. Dr. Dunlap?
Thank you, Scott, and good evening. It's indeed an honor for my wife Helen and I to be here tonight. And I would like to congratulate all of the inductees going into the Hall of Fame on well-deserved honor, not only showcasing your talents, but also your character and your pride in the Coatesville area. I think that the opportunity to be here. I go back many years ago in my time in coaching in the Westchester area school district, and something that always stood out was the pride in the Coatesville teams and the programs and the community. And taking a look at all of that in the current situation that we're in right now, it's time for that pride and that community to come back together to be able to move us forward. And I look forward to the challenge, and I think there's a lot of hard work ahead of us to be able to bring students back into the school district and close that gap of the number of kids that have been leaving over the years. I hope and pray that that number has stopped. Unfortunately, it has taken a hard financial burden on the school district. But I believe with a lot of hard work, bringing the teachers, the administration, and the community together, this is something that we can achieve in not only bringing students back, but bringing funds back to support our school district. Again, congratulations to the inductees tonight. It's indeed an honor being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dunlap. One thing I'd like to point out is one of the posters we have in the back is our Founders Award for Gene Bernight and Marty Flynn. And Mr. Marty Flynn is here tonight after missing the banquet for many years. He's sitting up here at table. Marty, raise your hand. Mr. Marty Flynn, one of the founders of the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, here tonight, back here tonight after missing a few years. We want to thank the Coatesville Country Club for their usual fine job. We found a home here, and they've really taken care of us for this great evening. Every year, a special thank you this year to Laurie Lessick. Now we're going to be starting dinner, and for your first timers, I got to explain how this works. Your server might have said, they are going to bring 10 meals to your table, 5 beef and 5 chicken. Then you work it out. It's amongst you what to do. 5 beef and 5 chicken dinners are going to come to your table. And we don't care if you trade with the table behind you to get what you want, but that's the way we want to do it. It makes things easier for the country club. So, servers, we're going to start dinner. Everyone enjoy your meal. And then when we're done, we're going to get right into our award ceremony. So, have a great evening, and thank you for being here. Let us get started. Once again, I'd like to welcome you to the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, our 20th annual banquet. And now, as we get ready to start, I'd like to recognize some people in attendance tonight. These are some very special people, some dignitaries. We've already met Dr. Dunlap. Thank you, Dr. Dunlap, for your fine comments tonight. We have Mr. Rob Fisher, president of the Coatesville School Board, and and a member of our Hall of Fame committee. Rob, just raise your hand or over there. We also have here today Dave Rohde, acting athletic director for Coatesville School District and a member of our Hall of Fame committee. Dave Rohde, who once again steps in to help the district. We also have in attendance tonight Brian Chenger, principal of the 910 Center. Brian, I saw you earlier. Give us a wave. There you go. We also have tonight the Honorable Harry Lewis, former state representative, Coatesville High grad, and a member of our Hall of Fame. Harry here tonight, who I always refer to as Bud, as most people do. And also a late arrival who I didn't have on my list, but I was informed is here. Head football coach Matt Ortega is here. Matt, give us a wave here. Matt over there. Thank you for being here, Matt. Please note the cover of your booklet this year, your program booklet. For our 20th year, we wanted a special design, so we asked the Cash Art Department to have their students design a cover for us, have the students submit designs for the special 20th year. We had 19 designs submitted. The committee voted, and you see the winner on the cover art done by Cash student Karen Plata. Now the program was so successful and so well received that we are going to continue that every year. The art department has asked us to just do that. So every year we are going to let Cash art students design the cover for that year's program. And the art teachers and the students were very enthusiastic about this. So we said, we'll continue it. Also, if you note in your program, the second and third place designs, as voted by the committee, are also inside the program and noted there. So we thank the Cash Art Department and the very enthusiastic response of their students in taking care of this for us. All right, we're going to get started with our actual awards. We begin with an award that was a very popular and unanimous decision by the committee, and that is to give special recognition to Justin Theroux. He deserves some applause. Starting with Coach John Barr, Justin has been enthusiastically serving the Coatesville football team for over 20 years now. Sprinting, and I mean sprinting, on and off the field with his water bottles, he has become part of the Coatesville football scene. Justin is a 2002 graduate of Coatesville. Since he was 8 years old, he's been participating in the Special Olympics, winning multiple medals in ice skating. He's a regular at the races at Grandview Speedway, and he's a big fan of the Flyers. The Hall of Fame committee is very happy to give this special recognition award to Justin Theroux, escorted by his sister Laurie and father Art. Justin. This is for you. You deserve it, sir.
I want to thank you, everybody, for doing this for me. I wish my friend was here with me. I miss my Wazzy. I miss him.
Okay.
I miss my Wazzy. He's a good friend.
Okay.
I really miss him.
Okay.
I really miss him.
I'm Justin's sister. On behalf of the family and Justin, we'd like to first thank John Barr and Mr. and Mrs. Fisher for trusting Justin some 20 years ago with the important task of supplying the Coatesville Red Raiders with their hydration for the football games. We also like to thank all of the coaches, trainers, and players over the past 21 years who have continued to welcome him as part of the team. And lastly, a huge thank you to the Hall of Fame committee for nominating and presenting Justin with this special award. Thank you.
All right, Justin. You want to go with with Bobby Calder there. See, Bob, you guys go with him, all right? Sometimes it's just good to do good things for people, and Justin Theroux is a wonderful young man. I sat with him and his father at multiple football banquets, and it's wonderful. And as you might say, Justin's a talker. Justin likes to talk. He likes to get going. And we are so happy that we could do this for him this year. It's just good to do good things for people every once in a while. And that's what happened tonight. Now we move on to another great tradition, and that is the Max Stuber Memorial Award. Given for dedication and service to Coatesville School District Athletics, we get to recognize people who, through the years, may not have received the credit they deserve. Just check out the past recipients. The Stuber family has been very supportive of the committee and this award, and they are always here. So at this time, I'd like Tina and David to please come up and present the award for our 12th annual Max Stuber Memorial Award. Tina and David.
My brother David and I are the children of Max Stuber, for whom this special award was named. As a math teacher, athletic director, coach, and loving husband and parent, our father was always there for everyone: family, neighbors, colleagues, students, and friends. Whether you knew him as Mr. Stuber, Malcolm, Mac, or just Dad, you knew our father's zest for life, teaching, and all things sports. Our dad was someone to look up to admire, someone to learn from, and someone to respect. Summing up our father's life, I keep coming back to this thought: never will you meet a man who more faithfully lived his values. Our father was a teacher of all things, and his method was simple. He taught by example. My brother and I are incredibly grateful to stand here again tonight and thank the Coastal Sports Hall of Fame Committee for creating the special Max Stuber Award. And we congratulate this year's recipient, Leonard Frampton. Dad would be so humbly proud.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor and a pleasure to share this evening with you. One of Dad's favorite sayings was, "A proof is in the pudding." That couldn't be more true with regards to this fine gentleman, a loving husband and father, a great educator, and a very dedicated and passionate coach. He came to Coatesville Sports from Chichester in 1973 and began his coaching career under Al Black. He admitted his passion is football, but he doubled up in other sports as well, compiling a total of 70 seasons of coaching in his 32 years. In speaking with Len, I asked him what his greatest game or sporting event that he had the privilege of being involved with, and he said that would have to be the 1976 Thanksgiving Day game at Downingtown. If there's anybody from Downingtown here, I'm sorry to remind you of that game. And I asked him, I said, "Len, what was your proudest moment?" And a warm smile came across his face, and he said, "Dave, that would have to be the day my father walked me across the football field my senior year at Chichester." Like Dad said, the proof is in the pudding. Ladies and gentlemen, 2019 recipient of Max Stuber Memorial Sports Award, Len Frampton.
It's truly an honor to stand here tonight, and great thanks to the Hall of Fame Committee, the Max Stuber family, fellow coaches and teachers, students, athletes, and supportive parents. I did not know Max Stuber very well, but it's clear Mac was held in the highest respect and esteem in the Coatesville community. I'm honored to receive this recognition in his name. Great thanks to my very supportive family in attendance tonight, my wife Kathy, daughter Jennifer with husband Carlo, granddaughter Imogen, son Jason and wife Susan, and my brother Bud, who incidentally is in the Lycoming College Basketball Hall of Fame. I coached some 70 seasons in various sports, but football was my favorite. We came to Coatesville in 1973. Coatesville is very similar to my hometown, Linwood, PA, near Marcus Hook, where many worked at the Sun Oil Refinery and where your well-being depended on the health of a one-industry town. I soon discovered Coatesville was populated by hard-working, down-to-earth folks who valued effort and honesty, many of whom worked at Lucan Steel. As I look back, I was privileged to have coached such notables as Walt Downing, Rip Hamilton, and Derek Morgan. These three made it to pro sports through talent and perseverance. But there were also many lesser-known young athletes who became successful in life by learning the lessons in the classroom, the community, and the playing fields where characters develop. Rip was probably the third best player on North Brandywine's 7th grade basketball team I coached. But clearly his work ethic and parental support paid huge dividends as he ascended through Cash and UConn up to an NBA title with the Pistons. I also coached Eric in basketball at North, and he was very coachable and a valued team player. I had fond memories of Scott Field, where the 9th grade practiced, and Patsy Laporte. Patsy, for those who may not know, was the superintendent at Scott Field. The grass at the stadium was always beautiful, the locker rooms ghastly, but playing at Scott Field nearly always made visiting teams doubtful about winning there. Patsy was likably gruff at times, but he shared our common desire to be successful. I recall Quentin Diedrich, Dietz, learning coach and mentor and role model for me and all the young football coaches. And to me, if you mention Coatesville athletics and coaches, there are too many outstanding coaches to name. There's a whole bunch of them who's the thrilling, exciting achievements of their Red Raider teams. My greatest joy in Coatesville was coaching the young people here for some 32 years. The kids were hardworking and respectful, although at times a bit challenging. The summer practices were hot, but the players seemed to love the physical aspects of football. When you played Coatesville, you were going to get hit, whether it was a 9th grade game, JV, or varsity game. The kids were tough. Often I felt if we could not form a really good team out of this talent, then we failed as coaches. After summer camp, our 9th grade players would start practicing. Under Coach Black, we formed 2 teams, red and black, from our 60 or so players who came out. Throughout the years, it was very rewarding working with the 9th graders and the older players on the football teams. As coaches, we stressed to the 9th graders the importance of all players practicing well. To the Weeds was a healthy learning experience for our 9th grade linemen. We emphasized to our freshmen, you're not just on a football team, you're part of a team with great tradition and history. We would tell the players everyone on the team was important because there is no team without all of you. All of our players, whether a starter or not, practiced hard under the critical eyes of their coaches. The non-starters never complained through many a tough practice. The Coatesville kids were, in a word, gritty. We told non-starters we would get you into the game when we could, which happily was quite often because our teams were successful. If you hustle, know your job, and come to practice, you will play. Our goal as 9th grade coaches was to send at least 30 well-prepared players to the next level. We also did much scouting and videotaping of our varsity opponents. Scouting was always an adventure, especially when traveling in the Sultan's wagon with driver Chuck Lehan, unlit mini cigar in hand, and Coach Richards, who proudly owned the luxurious Sultan's wagon. Among the scenic places we visited were Shamokin, Harrisburg, Carlisle, Washington, D.C., Wilkes-Barre, Willingboro, and Camden, New Jersey. Stack and I scouted many a Friday and Saturday night together. I very much enjoyed coaching with Stack and all the other coaches during my 32 years in Coatesville. I look back fondly to the memories of my experiences here. I do feel fortunate and thankful to have been part of Coatesville's rich athletic history for some 30 plus years. Thank you all.
Congratulations. And you want to go see Bob Colfer back there, okay? I don't know if you checked your program, but several of those names Len mentioned are already Max Stuber winners. Patsy Laporte, Quentin Dietrich, Warren Stackhouse. They are previous winners of the Max Stuber Award. That's the kind of person we want to give that award to, and we've managed to do that year after year. Now we'll move on to our team recognition. This will be our 9th team being recognized by the committee for their great accomplishments. We are now honoring state champion or state runner-up teams in boys and girls sports. After tonight, we still have many teams in that category to get to, and hopefully many, many more teams will be added to that list as we go on, a very distinguished list. I'd like to introduce Jeff Chalfant, Vice President of our committee, to present our team for this year's special team recognition. Jeff.
Thank you, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our 20th banquet, and thank you all for the support you give us every year, because we wouldn't have this without everyone supporting us, and it's great. As Scott said, this is the 9th year that we've honored a team, and we weren't sure how this was going to go, and it actually now has become something we look forward to doing every year. If you have not already, in the very back, there's a memorabilia table with booklets put together for that 98 team by Gary Gill. He does a great job every year, but before you go, make sure you pick one up and take a look at the memorabilia. And at this time, would all players, coaches for the 98 team, please come up. These guys, if all Coatesville sports fans, I'm sure remember the magical spring these young men had back in '98, and we followed them, and they just made the whole community proud the way they played the game. So at this time, it is my pleasure to turn this over to the coach of that team and a 2019 inductee, Coach Ziegler.
As you look at these young men up here right now, they were great baseball players, but they're better young men. We fell one game short in that game, even though we were ahead. Eats my heart out to this day. I still think about that every year, but one of these years we're going to get it, and I'm sure these guys here will be back to help me celebrate. This will be my 29th year coming up, and without a doubt, we're going to try to get that into Coatesville one of these years. I think Mark LaQuintano wants to speak on behalf of the team. We need one more person to come up. Bob Yersley, who was our scorekeeper. Please come up.
Thank you. Hey everyone, good to see you. Just to let everyone know, I played for Mr. Frampton too. He mentioned Rip and a couple other people. Maybe he forgot me. I played on that 7th grade team for him, and I think he forgot me. But I was there. Anyway, I need to recognize a legend. Mr. Kershey's here, Mr. Ross Kershey. I still watch the History Channel today because of him, and I love the history of Coatesville because of him. Also, Mr. Como, Mr. Rich Como, who always let us know what and who we were playing for, and it was for that city of Coatesville. I remember when we were going to the state championship game, Zig said, we're going to pull out front real quick of the high school, and we were like, what are we doing? So he pulled out front, and Mr. Como got on, and he gave a speech and said, you're not playing for yourself anymore. You're playing for the city of Coatesville. And it gives me chills to this day just to think about that. But thank you, Mr. Como. I appreciate that. And then we got the team. The team of guys that we started as a young group of kids, and I want to thank us. We were friends, and we played for each other. That's what we did. We didn't think about going out and winning games. We just wanted to hang out with each other, and that's when we became great. And then, it doesn't hurt to have people like Timmy Duff, who played for the Angels organization, and Dan D'Amato, who was a drafted player, and Glennie Woolard, who was a drafted player. I played a little bit of ball myself in college, but I wasn't as good as them. No. But just looking back, like in our state championship game, Mr. Louis Ziegler over here, he hit a home run and he put us up 6-2. And Big Lou, he put it opposite field over the fence in a major league park, and it's just a group of great friends, and I miss it every day. But our swagger that we got came from this man right here, Mr. Coach Gill. He's a Miami guy, so you guys know the Miami football teams in the 90s. It was a swagger team, and that's where we got it from. He made us crazy out there. we loved it. But our father figure was always Coach Zig. We always looked up to him. When we knew when the big cat's piss was boiling. Remember, that's what you used to say. When the big cat's piss is boiling, you don't want to get in his way. But he was always there. It was that almost like it was that thing in the back of your head that you always knew that maybe he was going to show up at that party that you were at and tell you got to go home. Anyway, but thank you guys. I appreciate everything, and this is I think about it to this day. We're all 40 now, so love you guys.
Thank you guys. They brought a lot of joy to the community, and this is a good time to recognize them once again for the historic season that they had. Thank you guys. Congratulations.
No, not yet. We're going to keep them here. And we asked the baseball team to remain here because our first inductee of the night, I think very appropriately, is Coach Zig. We thought it was appropriate for Zig to be inducted tonight after his team was honored. He was a great player at Coatesville, and there was a real debate amongst our committees, actually for a few years, whether he should go in as a player or a coach. But his longtime contributions and success is what determined our vote. We felt his contributions to Coatesville High as a coach far outweighed his great career as a player. So we honor him as a coach this evening. Winning multiple Chessmont titles, multiple District 1 titles, and having a state runner-up team is what Coach Zig brought to the program. Tim Duff, who will be inducted later this evening, when he goes in, Zig will have coached 6 different players who are now in our Hall of Fame. 6 players that he coached are in our Hall of Fame. He has a lifetime coaching record of 343 and 243. He's been the head coach for 28 consecutive seasons, getting ready to go into number 29. Now, coaching records in high school are a little sketchy, and we're not exactly sure, but we think Zig might have one of the longest tenures as a head coach in Coatesville School District history, when he coached number 29 this year. So, I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Coach Harold Zig Ziegler.
Thank you. First, I'd like to congratulate Matt Ortega and the football team on a great win last night. I'd like to thank the committee for inducting me, especially Ernie Perel. I know he had a lot to do with that. Also like to congratulate the other inductees that are being inducted this year and all the other Hall of Fame members. It's an honor to be bestowed this prestigious award for something that you love to do. Like I say, I've been doing this now for 28 years and I've loved every year of it. People ask me when I'm gonna quit, and I just can't tell you that. I guess the good Lord upstairs will tell me when it's time for me to give it up, but I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the players on the team. They're like a family to me. You look at these young men right here, that's my family. My family grows every year, and it makes my heart just swell. I want to go back to when I played. I played for Paul Changer. I really wasn't sure if I was on the track team or the baseball team, but Paul was one of the guys that started me off by coaching me. And you read in the program where I also played in the parks with Ross Kershey, Bill Gogler, played Legion ball with Gene Patton. They're all great coaches, and I guess a little of that has worn off on me. Not that I'm great, but it's just that I like to coach. You know, when you coach, and those of you guys that coach, it takes you away from your family. I used to do it 10 months a year. And as I got a little older, I said, nah, this is being too much. But I cut down a little bit, so we only do it like 6 or 7 months a year now. I'd like to thank my wife, first of all. Just a little something for her. Around my house, it's not what I'm going to do in my yard and my house and everything. It's what I'm going to go do on the field. She would always say, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going up the field to seed it. I'm going up the field to put something down. It's just forever." So you're ever away from your home. My son, he coaches with me too, so I got him into it. When I started coaching in Cowan, my daughter kept score for me. So I always had the whole family working with me, so one way or another we were all together. Now over in the far table are all my grandkids. After the games, they come down to see me, win, lose, or draw. So it makes the days we get an L and I see them coming across the field running to me, it sort of picks my spirits back up again, knowing there's more to sports than winning and losing. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all the ADs that I've worked for. Being around 20 some years, I've worked for different ADs. Chuck Carroll, Rob Fisher, Brian Changer, Corey Siegel, Matt McCain, Jack Helm on an interim basis, even though he's from Downingtown. Now Dave Rohde. Also, I'd like to thank the principals. I'm a believer in the kids in the school being responsible kids and behaving. So I give my open line to all the principals and everybody. If there's a problem, call me, text me or something, I will take care of it. So I want to thank Paul Changer, who's actually the one that coached me, and then he ended up hiring me here. Rich Como, who, as the kids said, used to give us our inspirational speeches on the buses when we had big games. Harry Lewis did it part-time for a year. Rob Fisher, now Michelle Snyder. All those were big parts in helping me coach. I'm not a teacher in the school district, so I rely on a lot of people inside the school to help me. And all of them did a great job of helping me. Also, I'd like to welcome Dr. Dunlap to the school district. Enjoy meeting him. And my assistant coaches, Rob Gill, who's up here with me, Chad Ohar, who's been with me for about 20 years, Donnie Lawrence, who passed away. Denny Luminella gave me a stone to put in the ground by my dugout. And if you ever see where I stand during the game, it's always down the first base dugout, and Donnie's right below me. And I'm always talking to him, and he's talking to me. So, also Lance Ziegler and Danny Newton. I'd like to thank all the teams, because surely I didn't get to this point right here by doing it myself. It was the teams. And again, I treat them as a family. I look over them. If I hear things about them, I explore. Mark LaQuintano just said something about a party. Coach Gill and I did show up at the house and dispersed the party. I sort of surprised them when I walked in. And I will tell them I will be there. If I hear there's a party, I will either be there, or if I have to, I will call the police and have them stop at your house. I will do whatever it takes to keep the young men in Coatesville out of trouble. I'd also like to thank Dick Permani. When I was coaching down at Cowan, I began coaching down Cowan at T-ball, not that I wanted to. I went to a T-ball game my son was supposed to play, and the bag showed up and no coach showed up. So they said, somebody got a coach, and everybody looked at me. I was playing 2 leagues of baseball at the time. I said, well, I'll do it tonight, but I can't do it any other night. But ended up changing my whole schedule around so I could do them. Coach T-ball, B-ball, A-ball, Little League, Babe Ruth. And then Dick Permani saw me and said, there's a job open at the high school. You need to do that. I said, the only way I can do this is if I get out of my job. Well, I got the itch, and I wouldn't accept the job anymore unless I could get out of work to go coach, so I did that. The highlights for me were the state final game and able to coach all these young men in such a great game with the city of Coatesville. It seemed like all of them were there. When I coach, and for some of you guys, you think I'm a salesman because you always see me coming around trying to get somebody to golf in our tournament, do this, do that, sponsor something. I'm big in the community. We got the lights put on the field and the lights didn't work. The electrician hooked them up wrong. I called Greg Vitry from Coatesville, said, Zig, don't worry about it, I'll take them. Rewired the whole lights, put all new box in, did everything for me. And I'm a believer that this isn't a Coatesville baseball team, this is a community baseball team, and the community needs to all work together for one, and that's what we've done. The lowlights of my coaching career was the state final game, losing. Again, as I tell you, I still think about this every season we start up. Bad call. The other low time was a playoff game down at Widener where we hit a 3-run homer during the game and they called a foul and we ended up losing the game. It just still sticks in my craw because the team we lost to won the state title game by 16 runs. Another low time in my life was the death of Colin McElroy prior to the season in a car accident. Again, I treat all these kids as family, and when that happened, that just hit me right to my heart. Another one is Brandon McCool dying of cancer prior to the season. And the lights you see on our field is because Brandon McCool's family put them there. And whenever those lights are on, they feel Brandon's looking down upon the whole baseball program. And the last one is Donnie Lawrence dying of cancer. As you see in the program, that was my soul brother. Him and I grew up together, played baseball together. He couldn't drive, so I drove us everywhere we went. If I got thrown out of a game, he got thrown out of a game because he didn't have any way to get home. In honor of Donnie, I'll end this the way Donnie would have done it, and he said, thank you, and thank you very much.
Those of us who know what Zig and Donnie Lawrence's relationship was like. Donnie and Zig were soul brothers. No way else to put that. Yeah, just go see Bobby there. Okay. All right, we move on to our next inductee. That is Michele Bivona Sawka for softball. We have a very strong softball tradition here at Coatesville. In our very first induction class, we had Debbie Marshall, star pitcher of the 1975 state runner-up team. Joy Renfrew, her softball coach, is in the Hall of Fame. We've inducted 7 other softball players since then, and Michele Bivona Sawka will be our 9th softball player to enter the Hall of Fame in our 20 years. As the program shows, she was a great pitcher, but also helped her own cause at the plate by being a stellar leadoff hitter. Earning all league and all area honors, she also earned the respect of other coaches. We have a quote from Ron Savisto, longtime coach at Bishop Shanahan, who stated, "Michele is the best pitcher my teams have ever faced, and he's been there for 24 years." That drop curve she threw must have been something else, because multiple people commented about that pitch, how unhittable it was. It was then on to IUP, where she had another great career and racked up many awards on the college level. So, I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Michele Bivona Sawka.
Hi everyone, what an honor it is to be here tonight, inducted into the Coatesville Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you to all of you who put this special event together. What a great turnout. I'm so happy to be a part of the Red Raider community. This ceremony means so much more to me since I have gone on to lead a life surrounded by softball. I played it at many levels, I coached it, I still watch it on my free time, and I currently instruct it as my full-time job. I am lucky enough to pass on my knowledge and passion for the game that I love so much to the next generation through my sports facility in Malvern, MJB Sports Performance. Growing up, softball was my life, and coincidentally, it still is. There was rarely a day that would pass where you wouldn't find me outside practicing to become the best player that I could be. I still remember what a thrill it was to step on that mound my freshman year for varsity at Coatesville. I had my fair share of successes on that field and many others, and I have my Coatesville coach, Keith Mazzarelli, to thank you for trusting a freshman to lead our team. It was an amazing feeling, not only just being on the mound, but having such a supportive group of girls to back me up as well. My favorite memory on the field from my high school days was pitching my heart out against our rivals and the Chestmont champs, who were my closest friends, Westchester East. We ended up winning that game from my double off the top of the fence, 2-1, and the memory of pitching the final out still gives me the chills. I ended up on a scholarship at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where I set team new records and ended up going to the World Series my senior year. I'd like to take some time here towards the end to let my parents know how thankful I am of their support and guidance through those formative years. Without them, I would not be here today standing at the podium. My parents spent so much time, hang on a second. All right. My parents spent so much time to ensure I made it to all the thousands of practices, lessons, games, road trips. They sacrificed many vacations, family trips, and holidays where I chased my dream on the field. And for that, I'm beyond thankful. I want to thank my husband, Corey, for supporting me and guiding the way on how to build a career from the sport. All right. Softballs, as well as many sports, can be viewed as a game. They can be enjoyed as a game. They can be fun to watch and attend as a game. But for some of us in this room and many others, these games have turned out to be our best friend, our worst enemy, our therapist, our guidance counselor, and our source of joy. These sports provide hope at a time when young people need it the most. These sports provide friends, sisters, brothers, mentors, and lifelong relationships. These sports provide structure and discipline at a time when life can be chaotic. I'm happy that those before me have fought for the rights of women like myself to enjoy these sports these sports and the many blessings that they have provided me. And lastly, I'm happy that Coatesville High School fought to provide a safe, competitive, and enjoyable environment for me to thrive in my sport and throughout life. Thank you.
That's you. And you want to go there, see Bob Holder in the red jacket for his photo taken. Okay. Sorry, I'm 6'4". I got to move this up here. I just want to take a moment to recognize some special people here tonight. Many of our past inductees are here, athletes, coaches, and Max Stuber Award winners. They're the people you see around here wearing the white carnation flowers. And I ask at this time that all of our past inductees please stand and be recognized. Everyone, please. Our past inductees. Thank you. 31 past inductees made it here tonight. We try and keep count of that. The most ever. We've never had more than like 25 previously. 31 past inductees thought this night was important enough for our 20th anniversary to be here. We always like to give an update on the number of inductees in our Hall of Fame. So here we go. Not including tonight's inductees. We have 124 male athletes, 45 female athletes, 18 coaches, 5 women and 13 men, 11 Max Stuber Award winners, and 4 special award winners. That's a total of 202. Now let's think about this. Let's say start in 1920 and go to today, 2019. So that's essentially a century. That's 100 years of athletics at Coatesville High School. Now, think of the thousands upon thousands of athletes that have come through Coatesville High School in that 100 years. And we have just barely over 200 in our Hall of Fame. So you Hall of Fame members, you are the best of the best that Coatesville Athletics could produce. And congratulations to you all. On to our next inductee. Ryan Shaver for track. This is a unique situation with Ryan because he was actually inducted last year into the Hall of Fame, but he was stationed in Alaska in the Air Force, and for some reason he couldn't make it here from Anchorage. I just don't know what happened, but we weren't going to slight a man serving our nation in the military. So we basically told him, you know, when you can make it, you come here and we'll give you the honor you deserve. Well, now stationed in Dover, Delaware, a little bit closer, Ryan could be here tonight and we're very happy about that. He will be our 3rd track athlete honored tonight. That's a new situation. We're actually taking in 3 track athletes in one ceremony tonight. From his write-up, there's one item I'd like you to note, and that is being selected for the Golden West meet. And that's quite an honor. I'm very familiar with that, with my father being a track coach for years, and he sent George Holmes to the Golden West. That meet is for the best of the best in all of the nation. That is the ultimate all-star track meet. And for a high school track athlete like Ryan to be selected for that meet, you can't overestimate the importance of that accomplishment. Now I have to word this one a little bit differently, so here to make his acceptance speech for his induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame in 2018, I present Ryan Shaver.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I missed the memo on writing a speech, so I'm going to focus on the people that have been most important to me, helped me through life and athletics. So first of all, my parents raised me to be a great man, support me through athletics. My dad waking me up every morning for our 6:15 practices that we went to all the time. Without their support, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't have succeeded so much. As far as the great coaches I've had, so did Mr. Andrews, did he make it? Yeah, Mr. Andrews, so glad to see you made it. He's the one who got me into running. 7th grade, I believe it was. Started cross country. Has been there, was there through junior high and high school. Great man, was always there. Great coach. Was awesome making Gatorade as well. And then we have Mr. Smith, who's over there. I've already harassed him a little bit tonight. I have some great stories about Mr. Smith. I don't know if you want me to tell them, or you can tell them later. We went to the Golden West meet together, it was mentioned earlier. Some great stories from that, but also a great man. I've been surrounded by great people and great coaches. And then lastly, Mr. Lapp, and well, we can mention Mrs. Lapp as well, because you know, they really treated me as part of their family. Coming into cross country, it's a good, tight-knit community, and they treated me like their son, and I really appreciate that. I love that. And Mr. Lapp is an inspirational and dedicated coach. Inspired me. Actually, the picture in the pamphlet I was looking at is me running. So that was the state meet. So 1 districts. In the first day of states, I won that one pretty easily. And the last day, on the 3rd lap, I was ready to give up. I was very far behind, and I can just hear Mr. Lapp's voice peering through. So that was a moment where I was ready to give up, and I just needed him to remind me. And so that inspiration made a moment that I would have regretted into a moment I was proud of. Still lost by 0.04 seconds a mile. How about that? So, so with him there and just coaching me along, and that inspiration he was through my career, it really pushed me. So, thank you everyone. Thank you to my coaches and family, and thanks everyone for coming.
To you, it's yours, and you want to see Bob Folder, the red coat there, and you're going to get a photo taken. All right, okay? All right, we're now going to move on to our senior category. And we had an old-timers committee at one time, and we did a pretty good job, I think, of recognizing the athletes from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. But then we sort of felt we got all we could, so we disbanded the old-timers committee. But then we realized we were missing some great athletes from some other decades, like the 60s. So we created this category last year, and you have to have graduated 50 years or more. So each year, the people eligible for the senior category will increase each year. We just felt that each year, with the younger athletes being eligible for a Hall of Fame, some of our older great athletes were getting overlooked. So the senior category was created. So we felt deserving athletes will now have a chance to get in. So we'll start tonight our first senior category athlete, Alex Boo Norman, for track. Yes, I think Alex bought 23 tickets for tonight's banquet, so he is well represented tonight. Alex is the first graduate from the cash class of 1969 to be inducted. He excelled in the 440 on the track. His great junior year, 1968, resulted in a school record in the 440, a 3rd place finish at states, and winning the Philadelphia area meet of champions. And back then, the Philly schools weren't in the PIAA, so when you ran to the state meet, the Philly schools weren't there. So when you won the meet of champions, that was against Philly schools, Delaware schools, South Jersey schools, and he would be the meet of champions. Unfortunately, track, as my father will tell you, or any of our track athletes here will tell you, is known as the heartbreak sport because injuries occur. And what should have been an excellent senior year was ended by injuries for Alex. It was, we were really looking forward to what he would do as a senior after his great junior year, but he just couldn't overcome the injuries. Alex also played varsity basketball at Coatesville for my father, so that meant from November 1st through Memorial Day, Alex was virtually with my father day by day for 7 months. You're a fine man, Alex, for putting up with that. You're a good man for doing that, okay? So I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Alex Boo Norman.
Good evening. Can you all hear me? All right. Well, thank you. Thank the committee. I'm a little nervous here. Let me tell you, I'm a sensitive guy, and I may end up crying. My wife told me, "Don't you get up there and start crying." Well, that's just who I am. So if I start crying, y'all join in, help me out. But I would like to thank the committee. Mr. Kershey, Harry Lewis were my coaches, and I'm going to leave the one guy I haven't mentioned yet, the great Bill Renfrew. Bill recruited me to run. When I say recruited, I was on one of his biology classes, and I was failing miserably in this class. Mr. Renfrew was kind of a hustler, and he talked to me. He said, "Would you ever run track?" I said, "No." We made a deal. He said, "I will help you out if you run track for me." You know, I ended up with a D+ anyway, but I was never interested in track. The thing for coming up was basketball and football, and that was because, see, you could get all the chicks playing them two sports. Didn't make out too well there either. I played for Mr. Kershey for a couple years. There was another guy. We were called the Minutemen because we didn't play very much. We were at the end of the bench. There's a guy here now, Soup Johnson. We were called the Minutemen. We made a deal. Where's Mr. Kershey? Mr. Kershey, I'm going to admit something to you. When we didn't get in for a minute, when it was anything less than a minute, Soup and I made a deal, said, "We'll tell you we didn't want to go in, we heard something." I did it one time. Then when you went to Soup, he came in. He didn't keep the deal, but I want you to know tonight, it was all his idea. But what I do want to say, my coaches, I mentioned Harry, I met Mr. Kershey, they influenced me along the way. But getting back to Mr. Renfrew, he actually made me run track, and he put the time in. He was actually one of the first men to ever tell me, he said, "I love you." And at that time, I looked at him a little strange. But as time goes on, when you get older, you begin to realize what he meant. He pushed me hard, always laughing. He would take us out to the field before the 9-10 center was built. He'd run us up the country road, up the hill and stuff like that. But he was a good man, and I loved the man. He prepared me for more than track. It was preparing me for life. After we got out of high school, some of y'all now, that when we were younger, we just couldn't wait till we got out of high school. And then realized that being an adult is a rough way to go. Sometimes I just wanted to go back and be a little guy again. But all in all, I had a good season, ran track. We ran on those hard cinders back then. When I first started running track, we didn't even have enough spikes to go around. I ran my first quarter in a pair of sneakers. But I do want to thank everybody for voting for me and nominating me. I hadn't prepared anything to say, but if I can, I'd like to honor my mother and my dad. They raised 7 kids. Never asked of people of anything. They did without so we could have. My father, he never saw me run, but he'd always know how I did. My father never told me that he loved me, but I knew he did, until later on in life. And I just want to honor them. Alec Norman and Janet Norman. A lot of y'all know her as Miss Janet. Sue, they loved you, man. But I want to honor them with this nomination tonight. Thank you.
you want to go see Bobby Porter in the red jacket for a photo? Right? Quite a following for Boo there, as you can see. A very well-liked and respected man. Our next senior inductee is Dave Entriken. Now, if you check your program, Dave's a little bit out of position, so he's on page 38. He's back toward it, so if you want to see the write-up on Dave, you got to go back to page 38. Put this back up here. Sorry about that. He was a great two-sport star at Coatesville. And the committee voted to recognize Dave for his accomplishments in football, but could just as well have been baseball, where he was a great baseball player. He was so proud of his accomplishments in the two sports that he asked if we would put a photo of him in both. If you notice, there's a photo of him for football and baseball in the program. So we obliged him on that. Said, you want 2 photos for your 2 sports? Sure, we'll do that. Unfortunately, Dave made vacation plans well in advance of his being selected for induction. I believe he's on a cruise, so he can't be here tonight. But his friend, John Gathercole, a member of our committee, will be accepting tonight on Dave Entriken's behalf. John?
Good evening, everyone. Raider Nation, we're here, brother. Downingtown Whippets, down again. No, Downingtown, I know there's a couple people from Downingtown here. You can beat anybody, but you can't beat us. So let me just say a couple things about Dave. Dave, I don't know if a lot of people know Dave, but Dave was probably, in my opinion, one of the best catchers ever come out of Coatesville. Plus, he was a heck of a football player. So I'm just glad that he was voted in, and believe me, he deserved it. So Dave gave me a little thing for him to read, for me to read, if I can see it. Might not be able to see it, though. Right, man. Yeah, I got it. All right, here we go. From Dave. I apologize that I was unable to attend this evening's ceremony and share in the festivities and fellowship. Many of you I know as a friend, teammate, coach, or a teacher. It would have been good to see all of you again. I appreciate John Gathercole standing in for me. John has been a good friend of mine for many years, and we have shared many stories and laughs over the years. First, I would like to thank the Coatesville Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me for such a prestigious award. It is truly an honor to be inducted among those who have preceded me. Congratulations to the other inductees for their accomplishments, Len Frampton for his contributions to Coatesville, and the 1998 baseball team, and their great season. By the way, I coached all them boys and gave them the zig. That's why they were so good. Thank you to all my friends and fellow teammates at Coatesville that played football and baseball with. All of you were winners and served as great motivators. It was an experience I will never forget. I also want to thank all of my coaches. Their guidance, support, and understanding of the sport helped me to achieve many goals in my life. I am truly grateful to them for all they did for me. Dedication to the sport, commitment to do your best, perseverance were traits taught to me at a young age by my father. He was my first and finest coach. Finally, I would like to thank my wife, Carol, who spent a lot of time sorting through 50-year-old newspaper articles that looked more like the original Constitution. It was a result of her patience in helping me and making this special occasion possible. Thank you, Dave Entriken.
All right, moving on. There's certain things I like doing every year at the banquet besides inducting them, and this is one of them. I have a very big thank you to our hardworking and dedicated committee. I'm up here in front of you just as the person up in front of you. There are 29 other people on our committee who deserve some notice, and I'm just going to recognize a few of them here because it's not me, it's a whole committee. We have Jeff Chalfant, our vice president, in charge of special team recognition, and he runs the ads and patrons for the booklet. Bob Coulter, he does our tickets. Terry Johnson Lynch, she is a member of our Hall of Fame and our secretary and keeps us in order. Gary Gill, our treasurer, and anything else in the world we need him to do, he does. We have Mike Logue, the banquet chairman. Mike is the man who really puts this together every year, coordinates with the country club, gets the seating chart done, gets everything going. Mike does a great job on that. Doug Haight does our program. Doug is the man who puts the program together. Teacher at Cash. He's also the teacher advisor for Teleria, the yearbook. So it's not like he doesn't have anything to do. He also has 2 kids at home under the age of 5. And Doug does this for us, dedicated to put this program together every year. We have Dan Jones and Frank Mashuli who do the plaques. Frank does the award plaques. Danny Jones takes care of the photo plaques. And for you wondering, the photo plaques will go up on the wall in the 910 lobby of the gymnasium. Those are the ones that go on permanent display. That's why we're not handing them out to the inductees tonight. Those are the permanent display photo plaques. Get up and take a look at those. They're pretty nice, that Danny takes care of every year. Dave Lapp in charge of our publicity. And as Dave and I fight every year, not us ourselves, but our quote, county newspaper, who never gives us any press, had this big, this is our 20th annual banquet, correct? 20th. Sent them all sorts of info on it, big celebration. This week there was a 6-paragraph article in the Daily Local on page 3 because Kennett Square had just started their first year of their Sports Hall of Fame. We're number 20, we can't get them to give us one sentence. So that's my rant about the Daily Local news, or as we've all come to know, the daily lack of news. So, sorry, I get off on that rant just about every year, and Dave knows what I'm talking about. Ruth Martin, I call her our designated calligrapher. Anytime we need anything written up, the things on the table, the names, name tags, all that, that's Ruth. Ruth, write this up. Ruth, do this, do this. Okay. And she just goes and she just writes up whatever we need. Janie Johnson, who does our projection show. We give Janie photos and she puts that projection show together for us back there. Those are the people just sort of stand out. Everyone else on our committee works very hard, and thank you very much to the committee. You make me look good every year, so thank you. All right, moving on. Our next inductee, Nikki Lise Sylvester for field hockey. I don't think it's any big secret to say that we don't have a distinguished history at Coatesville in field hockey. I'm just being honest there. But the players who participate in the sport are dedicated and enthusiastic. Nikki is just the 3rd field hockey player we've ever inducted in our 20 years. Once we received her resume, it was an easy decision. I must admit, not being a field hockey person, I had to call her mother, Donna, and ask, what is the link position? She talked about her playing the link. And I found out it's a midfielder spot that joins the offense when they're on the attack, and then hustles back and plays defense when the other team comes on the attack. And as Donna described it to me, Nikki ran up and down the length of the field the whole game and never came out. That was her description of Nikki playing the link position. Nikki was also a fine softball player, particularly known for her defensive skills as an outfielder, had a great arm. She was sadly taken from us much too early, and Nikki is represented here tonight by her parents, Donna and Bill Lease, and her son, Tommy. So I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Nikki Lise Sylvester.
For you.
Hi, everybody. Excuse me if I get emotional. This is a hard thing for a mom to do. Some of you here tonight are aware of the reason I stand here. Nikki suffered a 3-year journey with breast cancer at the age of 36. She gave her disease the same fight she gave on every field, with a smile. So we are proud to be here tonight to honor her and in her loving memory, but it's very bittersweet for all of us. Thanks. I want to share a few things that I know Nikki would have said tonight, and some of her coaches are here, and I'm sure they would back me on that. Thanks to the Hall of Fame committee for believing in me. I'm honored to have my plaque hung. Thanks to all my coaches, Scoogie, Bill Mendenhall for softball, Ann McGuigan and Del Gay for field hockey. Also thank my teammates who helped bring out my best game. And for my parents for their support, dedication, all the transportation. My dad for always encouraging me. And of course, my #1 cheerleader, Mom. Nikki, I was asked to bring up some of Nikki's memories in high school. One of them, Nikki was only one class behind her brother. She shared many high school days with him. She had a private Uber Chad to school every day, and she served as an usher in his class in 1994. One day she shared with me, Mom, it's not easy going through high school in your brother's shadow. As a mom, I'm not sure I wanted to know what that meant. A few memories going through when we did read newspapers, and Mr. Bill Mendenhall was here, and Skoog. One of the interviews with Bill Mendenhall, the journalist was speaking. I have all of Nikki's newspaper articles, and it brought back a lot of memories going through them. But one touched my heart when Bill Mendenhall was interviewed by the newspaper, and the newspaper was speaking of a softball diamond, and he quoted, "Speaking of diamonds, I'm losing a gem of a player for the rest of our season." The remainder of her junior year, she was faced with a major shoulder surgery. She told him, "I'll be back on the field next year." Bill quoted, "I'm looking forward to having Nikki back on the field," and she did it. He also quoted, "Nikki's a fine young lady. She's likable, coachable, has great work ethics, and always is a true team player." Skookie shared with me one day, "I not only had the honor and pleasure to coach Nikki, but I also shared a wonderful relationship with her, and she was indeed a winner at sports, but most important, he felt she was a winner at life." Some of my notes I scratched because I don't want to repeat what Scott said or what was in the program. Nikki gave her all every game, every play. One field hockey game, she took a hit to the leg and she went down. That's unusual for Nikki. She insisted, "All I need, Mom's a Band-Aid and I can remain in the game." However, a trip to the hospital and a few stitches, she was back on the field the next game. I was able to get a hold of Ann McGuigan, who is now in Texas, and thank goodness, I guess, for social media for that. So I scratched some of my notes because she sent a beautiful tribute to us today regarding Nikki and her stamina and her advanced stick work. And I don't take 1 second to read 2 of Ann's paragraphs. She quotes in it, "Nikki is a coach's dream, not only because of her athletic talent on the field, but because she was a positive light, a force, and she was a positive light and force for each of her teammates." She says, "It's been 25 years since I last saw Nikki walk on my Coatesville hockey field, but I'll always remember her playing with such speed, finesse, and heart. Nikki loved competition, never backed away from a challenge. She was a student of the game, and she worked very hard to continue to grow and improve as a player. Even though Nikki is being recognized tonight for her talent as an individual player, she was never satisfied unless the entire team found success. Nikki played for her team, not for individual glory. Nikki and her teammates were instrumental in changing the face of Coatesville Field Hockey's program. Because of her grit, her determination, resilience, and hard work, she and her teammates placed Coatesville Field Hockey back on the map, and Coatesville became a new threat in the Chestnut League. Nikki always took such pride in representing Coatesville Area High School as a Red Raider. She had all the qualities a coach hopes to find in a player, and was an incredible asset to the Coatesville Area Field Hockey program. Her contributions on the field will never be forgotten, and neither will Nikki. One other quote she quoted was, "Nikki has qualities that a coach cannot teach his or her players." She ended her letter, there's lots of things, it's a very nice tribute, but she ended it with, "I am sure that the best of Nikki can be found in her incredible son Tommy," and she would say today her greatest achievement was being a Hall of Fame mom. So Nikki went on to college. She was offered a position for field hockey and softball, and chose softball. In one of her first games in softball, she took an injury to the hand, which required surgery and a cast. She said, "Mom, I think it's time I hang up my glove." But guess what? Her glove came back when Tommy started to play baseball. She coached both Southern Chester County League, Cowan Little League. She started a travel team called the Titans. She was called Coach Nikki. She continued coaching through her journey for her love of Tommy and the sport. Well, Tommy, now an 8th grader at North, is participating in sports, and whenever possible, he wears his mom's number 4. So look out, Cash, here comes Tommy. It's been my pleasure to be here tonight to share just some of Nikki's memories. She touched so many hearts. And please know we all have a special angel, Nikki, looking down on all of us here tonight. Thank you, and God bless.
Moving on to our next inductee, Ameen Garnett for cross country. Amin is part of a great core of boys cross country runners that Coatesville fielded during the decades of the 2000 through 2009. He joins the likes of Matt Lapp, Rob Robertson, and Kyle Dawson, all Hall of Fame members who ran during that time period. He would finish 16th at the States as a junior, and then come back to finish 3rd as a senior. That Red Raider team in 2004 came up just 5 points shy of being state champions, losing to Cedar Cliff. Like many good cross-country runners, he also excelled in distance events and outdoor track, earning a 4th place medal in the 3,200 meter run at the state meet as a senior. One interesting fact that I noticed by looking through his statistics, at the District 1 meet his senior year in cross country, he finished 6th. So 1 week later, they go to the state meet, which has runners from all over the state, and he finished 3rd, which means he beat people who beat him the week before. Determination to finish for the Red Raiders there. And I'd say he was running with some purpose there. So now I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Ameen Garnett.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the city of Coatesville for always having pride and showing me how to be a true competitor. I want to thank my coaches, Coach Andrew, for basically pulling me aside my 8th grade year and showing me that I can actually run cross country, because I thought I was a sprinter, but I was otherwise. Coach Lapp, he's always been there for me. My first distance race, I ran the mile in 9th grade, and I ran it in, I think it was like 5:01 in a pair of Jordans. And that same day, he was like, no, throw those in the trash. And, we were Adidas up ever since then, and, one thing that the newspapers, if they didn't really cover us, they know that we were the best dressed. When you come to our races and you see the all black and that red sea, it just gives you a different sense of pride, and, it's just menacing to the other teams. But one thing that Coach Lapp instilled in me was a sense of purpose, and a sense of family too, because we were really tight-knit all the way down from the younger teammates, to the senior teammates. The reason I was able to even be in my position was because of son Matt Lapp and Skip, Ryan Shaver, and Justin, and Robertson, and the guys that came before me that won the state championship in 2000. And I remember a teammate of mine that used to give me rides home from track practice. We would look up in the 9 and 10 center and see the state medals. We see the basketball team, and we see the cross country team. And I would look and I'd be like, man, I want one of those. I want me a state medal. And he was like, oh man, we'll be lucky enough if we get chess, make it to qualify for Chessmots. And I took it ever since then that, that was somebody telling me that I couldn't do something, that I couldn't be the best at what I wanted to be. And it drove me, and Coach Lapp, he had a rigorous program, and I stuck to it. Sometimes I was hard-headed. I even had one season where I thought I wasn't going to even be there. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't be the same if I wasn't with Coatesville and the city. They showed me love back. Even to this day, they still, talk to me and remember about running. And, because of Coach Lapp and because of this program and everyone in this room, it made me realize that I had a future. So I went my senior year. I want to thank Miss Martin too. Miss Martin, she holds a special place in my heart. She took care of me, and people like her and Coach Lapp and all my coaches, they believed in me. At times when I didn't even believe in myself. The only thing I had left was God. And these people to push me along, to tell me that it's okay even when we took a loss, because we were going up against Henderson and they were the state champions and were returning, and I was supposed to run for them, but it didn't work out that way, and I'm glad it didn't, because we deserved to be up on that podium just as much as they did, and we ended up wiping them out, with Ellis Wilson leading us along. I had an IT band injury, and the one Chessmont meet that we lost was against Downingtown West, I believe. I was out. I had to get an MRI, and we lost by a slim margin. But other than that, we did exactly what Coach Lapp and Coach Andrew, thought that we were going to do. And at the time, it was hard because I didn't know if I was going to run in the district meet. My Nana, she passed away from pneumonia, and leading up to it. So Chessmont's, she was in the hospital. Go and visit her. Had to go down to Westchester. I wrote on her board, Nana, we won. And usually she was the one that I would come home to after invitationals. I show her my medals because my dad, he was a runner too, and unfortunately he ran for Henderson. So, he won the state champion. Well, he came in third in the state championship for 4x1, and I just always was pushed by him, to go further. I was in Indian Run Village running laps all the way around, and he'd have me up early in the morning, when it was off time, because I wasn't running cross country all the way through. I didn't start running until 11th grade, and I wish I would have took everybody's advice and started in 9th grade, but you know, everything happens for a reason, and I just put my belief in stock in our program. I knew that, you know, we're a stellar program, and you know, without the program, I don't know where I'd be in life. You know, my grandmother, she wasn't able to see me graduate. She wasn't able to see me go to Chestmont's and return to form. She wasn't, you know, I seen her in the hospital the night before I had to run districts, so they didn't know if I was going to run districts. But my dad's cousin told me that's what she would want me to do. So, and that's what my team needed me. You know, it wasn't about me, it's about the team. You know, and that's why I love Coatesville, because they rally behind the team, they rally behind the school. And, you know, even when we're going through ups and downs, and that's what kept me going. So I came back and I came in 6th and ran one of the fastest times I ever ran, 15:29, you know, and that's when things just changed, you know, and I started getting better and better, and I started believing, and got down to that state meet. And in the photograph they took of us when we were on the bus heading out, you know, I just was in the zone. I had my headphones on, and I came there to win, you know. And what's funny is my dad, he came out, you know, in the beginning, he didn't really know what I was doing. He knew I ran track, but he didn't really know that much about the cross country thing until we started getting, you know, read about in the papers. So he came out to my state meet, surprised me, and basically, you know, a guy next to him was like, "Where's your son at?" And I was coming down, you know, 3rd, and you know, they had to wait for like an hour to get the times back, and basically, we got edged by 5 points. But the beautiful thing that came from it was the guys like Kyle Dawson, Jason Leonard, the guys that won nationals, you know, that took it to heart. They'd never been to States before and took it to heart. And, you know, they were crying. I'm up on the podium, you know, basically numb because I lost my grandmother, and we lost. But really, we won, you know what I mean? We're runners up, and they can't take that from us, you know. And on top of that, you know what I mean, I beat their whole team. So even though they won, you know, but anyway, I love this program, I love this city, and I thank the committee for honoring me and everyone else that got honored.
A lot of short people being honored tonight, what can I say? All right, here's some more info on our Hall of Fame. Our Hall of Fame does this as well. We present the Outstanding Male and Female Senior Athlete of the Year Award at Cash. Now, we don't pick the winners, that's done by the school district coaches, but we provide the award that is given to the winners. And this year, the Hall of Fame committee, we doubled the award we give to the winners. We doubled our award amount that we give. And for the class of 19, so that was back in June of 2019, the award winners this year were Peyton Wolf for the girls and Aaron Young for the boys. So they got our Hall of Fame Outstanding Male and Female Athletes Awards. And we're very happy to do that, believe me. Please note in your program the patrons page. This is a very easy way for you to support the Hall of Fame. It's $5, and you get your name in the program, but more importantly, you help us with many things. This banquet, the cost of printing the program, the special team recognition items there. We present the award money to the athletes at Cash. So this is just a little commercial here, but please think about becoming a patron of our Hall of Fame for next year's program. Like I said, it's $5, and it helps us support athletics at Coatesville, because that's what we do here. We are here to support athletics at Coatesville, and it's an easy way for you to help out the program. Also, we want to thank all of our advertisers that you see in the program. Very loyal support. There are many advertisers in there that we've been advertising for us year after year after year. So another commercial here. If you or your company or organization would like to take an ad out in our program and support the Hall of Fame, see Jeff Chalfant. He's the man that does the ads and patrons. So just a little promo there for a Hall of Fame, because we do good things, not just this banquet. There are other things we undertake every year. All right, moving on to our next inductee, Tim Griffiths for football. Linemen are often overlooked when it comes to receiving honors like this, but Tim's accomplishments are so outstanding that they can't be missed. This is our 20th year, and we've inducted at least one football player every single year for 20 years. We've done a pretty good job of recognizing linemen, starting with our very first inductee class, and that was Bob Fleck. And I think we've done a decent job of recognizing offensive and defensive linemen through the years. Tim earned every all, in parentheses or quotation marks, first team honor you can possibly get. All state, all southeastern PA, all county, all Chestmont. He played center and was the anchor on an offensive line that would lead the Red Raiders to an undefeated Chestmont title in 1991. Tim also was a fine baseball player, earning all Chestmont honors as a catcher his senior year. Coach Mike Dominic, who I ran into up here at the country club about a month ago, made sure he was here. He said, you know, Tim's going in, you get me a ticket, I'll be there. And I did, and Mike is here tonight. On to a great career he had at Mansfield University, and I'm sure Tim doesn't feel good about this. Unfortunately, a college that has since dropped its football program, but his accomplishments there might just stand for a while. So I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Tim Griffiths.
Wow, this is a pretty amazing event, and what a great honor it is to be part of such a distinguished group of people. When you gave the numbers earlier about, you know, how many people have gone through Coatesville sports and how many people have made it into the Hall of Fame, it made it even ring home more that I better come up here with a pretty good speech. And I did a little research before I came in, and I got a chance to watch one of the videos on YouTube. And I knew it was going to be a tough speech because I saw Mike's speech last year, and I just don't have enough jokes to match that. I don't think that's going to be a tough speech to match. But I want to thank everybody at the committee for nominating me, especially Johnny Gatt for putting my name out there and getting me in. I appreciate that, Johnny. This is a tremendous honor for me to be a part of this group. You know, Coatesville sports has shaped my life. I've talked about Coatesville sports throughout my life. My poor family has had to endure all the stories about the tradition and the things that we've gotten to experience as the kids in Coatesville sports. And it is truly second to none when you go out, and I've had an opportunity through my career to go into a lot of school districts all up and down the East Coast. And there's no match for what this community brings to the school and the kids that are in there. I'd like to thank, you know, my mom and my dad for all their support. My mom's not here, but those of you who knew Flo, she'd be beaming from ear to ear right now with me being up here for this award. My dad, they never missed a game ever, whether I was in high school or college. My dad worked shift work, and he would move things around to make sure he was at every game. They often partied a lot at our college games, and we were a little jealous at how much fun they were having while we were playing and warming up. It looked like a good time, but they were huge supporters. My brother and my sister, always my biggest champions and biggest fans. So I want to thank my family for that. I gotta thank a lot of different communities, because I think what made me be successful in life was the community that I was raised in. I think the saying that it truly takes a village to raise a kid. I was raised by an amazing village. I could go around this room and probably I couldn't hit everybody
from Mrs. Kazil, who fed me 3 nights a week during when we were growing up, to all the guys I played softball with that kept me out of trouble in the off season, to my coaches. Jack Helm and Mike Dominic are here tonight, and I got a chance to have a dinner with my family with them, which was a real treat. They taught me a lot about what life is about and family, and that's what it's really about. I get a chance to look at the table over there and I see my 2 sons and my daughter and my wife, and that's what it's all about. That's why we go through this, and I learned that from Coatesville, what it means to be a part of a great tradition. I got to thank my teammates, coaches and trainers. Squirm's here tonight. He came out to support me. He's the only guy I let touch my butt for a couple of years. I was his center. We had a good trick play. We'd come up on the line when we knew we needed just 1 yard. He'd give me a little tap on the right cheek, and we were going. We didn't tell anybody else we were doing it, and we throw the defense off every time. But it was, we had a lot of fun times together. Skoog, where's Skoog? I gotta thank Skoog. One of my most favorite memories when I was on the football field is when we would score in that end zone, where Skoog would sit there and he had that big bass drum and he'd boom, 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 he'd be banging it, and all the kids, it was the kids section. That was what brought the spirit alive to the games. So he's been around forever. Everybody knows Skoog. Played baseball for Coach Ziegler. I'd like to think we got him started off. That was his first year. And I'm kind of glad that he wasn't seated in the school because he never came to any of our parties. He just didn't know about him yet. And Mr. Como, I'd like to thank him. I wouldn't have gone to college without that man. He kept me, he got me in the right direction, brought folks in to talk to me about going to school. And I've had a pretty good career in college, and I went on to play rugby as well. But it was, thank you very much for everything you did. So it truly takes a village to raise a kid. And I want to thank this village right here. This honor, this award goes out to all of you, not just me, because without all of you, I wouldn't be here today. So just want to thank you.
You want to go see Bob Colbert in the red jacket for a photo, okay? All right, that's not bad. Tim's good and tall, so I can leave that there. Our next inductee, Laurie Pickering Welsh for volleyball. It can be kind of difficult being the first. It was 1992, and Coatesville was fielding its first ever volleyball team. 9th grader Laurie Pickering, who had never played volleyball, comes out for the team. To say the least, she met all the challenges head on and excelled. She became the rock that the Coatesville volleyball program was built on. She is just the 2nd volleyball player we have inducted, joining Kendra Lewis. I'll share a story here. After her selection, we asked her coach, Hall of Fame member Mo Wallace, to give us some info, give us some more info on Laurie that we could, write up in the program. What you see in the program is exactly, word for word, what Mo gave us. We didn't change a word. So that is why at the bottom of the page, you'll see we gave her a writing credit, because we don't want to be accused of plagiarism there. So Coach Wallace, that's her write-up word for word on what she thought about Laurie. So Laurie, you can thank Coach Wallace for your fine write-up in the program. So now, I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Laurie Pickering Welsh.
We can leave this. Hey everyone, this is, I said I wasn't gonna cry, I'm going to. It's hard for me to put this spotlight on myself. Thank you so much, this is such an honor. And I don't have a prepared speech. One thing I do remember though is it said 4 minutes. you've all violated. But I just want to take this time to thank the people who got me here, because I think about how did I even get to this point, and I didn't have a lot going on at home, and I don't have parents that supported me. And for all of you coaches and teachers and administrators, you have no idea the impact you have on the students. I mean, I look at Miss Talley, Mr. Lewis, Scuggy, I think he's like coached everything. And Mo Wallace, I wouldn't be where I am today without her, because she came and said, you're playing volleyball. And that gave me purpose, and it gave me something to do to occupy my time. And I want to use this time to ask you guys to think about somebody in your life that you could believe in, that maybe not be your child, but you know, we all can't help what we're born into. We don't all have the same family life at home, but you can help somebody become a better person and believe in them. And I went on to play college because of her, and if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have, and I could have gone a different path in life. So I can't stress the importance that you guys play in the students' lives. And you know, 23 years later, I remember you like it was yesterday. So I just want to tell you that, because I know it's not the most glamorous job in the world, but impacting lives and leaving a legacy is more important than anything, I think. And my two biggest accomplishments are here with me, my children, Johnny and Cree, and I just hope that they you know, live up to these standards and seek to help other people and get to this position too. So thank you very much.
And you want to see Bob Kohler in the red jacket? You want to go with him for a photo? Okay. I know I did this last year, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to do it again. Have you heard how many of our inductees tonight have mentioned Scuggy Smith? Is it literally like almost every one of them comes up and talks about Scug? Scug did this, Scug did that. Scug is Mr. Coatesville. He coached every sport imaginable. He's my great friend. And he was on my father's first year. He took over as varsity basketball coach. And Scug was my buddy since the time I was like 7 years old. And everybody who's ever played for Scug has had this great memory of him. So Scug, please stand up. Again this year, I want to recognize you for what you do for Coatesville High School sports. And as you see by, of course, his white flower there, Scug was, of course, a Hall of Fame member, inducted as basketball coach. So now we sort of segue right into my next section, and that is nominations for the Hall of Fame. People ask all the time, how do I nominate someone to be in Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame? Well, there's a page in your program that tells you what to do. So if you check out that page, we are always looking for qualified nominees. We accept nominees from out in the community. It's just not the committee that nominates people. Somebody has a person they want to submit a nomination for, do it. Write it up and get it to one of our 30 different committee members, and we will put that person on our nomination list. But I think you should also remember, as we try and stress every year, that this is the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, not the Coatesville Sports Hall of Fame. We only consider what athletes accomplished while at Coatesville High School. And we even put that in the program this year at the top in bold print, because every year we'll get nominations because someone was a great player in the Coatesville Twilight League, or somebody led the YMCA League in scoring for 5 years, or so-and-so was a great coach in Callan Little League and Babe Ruth League for 20 years. Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't qualify you for this Hall of Fame. So we need something in writing. We need it to be turned into a Hall of Fame committee member, and we will certainly consider it. And please remember, it's for the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame. And if you turn it in, it will be given consideration. We have people who go into the Hall of Fame. The very first year we get a nomination for them, we'll vote them in if they are qualified. So just consider that. We're always looking for qualified candidates for our Hall of Fame. Okay, moving on. Our next inductee, Carl Taylor for track. In the 20 years of our Hall of Fame, we have recognized a male athlete in track and field category 19 times, and we're taking in 3 tonight. So that shows you the tradition and the strength that sport has at Coatesville. Rightfully taking his place in that group tonight is Carl Taylor. One story I'll tell about Carl is when we were having our discussion, we have a good debate every year when we're going to vote for who's going to go in. So when we're having our discussion for our candidates, Carl's name came up, and Dave Lapp immediately said, well, he broke my record in the 600-yard dash indoors. So Dave knew all about Carl. The funny thing was, Carl put that in his resume that he submitted. He submitted and he said, I broke Dave Lapp's record in the 600-yard run. That's true, but Dave knew that right away. Carl, you can see his resume or his write-up in the program. I just don't like to repeat what's in there, but he had a great career at Pitt. And whereas a senior there, he took a young freshman from Coatesville, Jesse Chalfant, a Hall of Fame member, under his wing and mentored him through that freshman year, which can be very tough for an athlete and student in college. And Carl, being from Coatesville, really helped out Jesse in that freshman year. When I put in the program that he has a successful business career, believe me when I tell you, that's a great understatement. Conversation I had with Carl about a week ago, he informed me that he now has over 70 patents in his name, awarded in his field, computer chip design. See, he's graduated from Pitt, he has his master's degree from Pitt. Athletics opened the door for Carl, and he charged right through it. A true Coatesville success story as a student athlete. I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Carl Taylor.
Thank you. To God be the glory. Every good and perfect gift comes from the Lord. I'd like to give thank you for the Hall of Fame for letting me in. I appreciate you guys. This is an excellent event. You guys are top notch, and I appreciate the consideration. I appreciate all the honorees before me. Pretty esteemed group to be a part of, and I'm thankful for that. I'd like to thank my beautiful wife, who's my track teammate now, as we run through life, and provided me with my wonderful son, Elijah, who's with her parents. He would not have made it through this. And so, thank you. We're right now successful in life, and that's the reason why, and everything that she pushes me and holds me down and everything, and knocks me upside my head when I'm not correct. I'd like to thank my parents. My parents were very, very demanding. They allow us to do whatever we wanted, but we had to excel at it, and if we didn't excel at it, we weren't allowed to do it. Tough life. They pushed us very hard, but I appreciate it. They definitely made me into the person that I am today. And I'd like to thank all the coaches. Proverbs 15:22 says, without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. And so I'd like to thank all the coaches here that are top notch. It's an all-star coaching staff, like Coach Lewis and Coach Smith and Coach Ingram and Coach Lapp, Skuggy. I had summer track coaches, late Dr. Hewitt and Dr. Young, and very many other coaches and teachers and everything. I was pushed. It was immeasurable the amount of success that I had. It was because of them and how they drove us, and they taught us the Coatesville tradition. I'd like to, like to thank my teammates. For a year and a half, the guy, Tony Harkins over there, sat on the bus next to me. I didn't know him. And he said, you need to run track, you need to run track, you need to run track, you need to run track. And I'm thinking, like, who is this guy? Leave me alone. No. I was like, it doesn't make sense. It's punishment in every other sport. Run around in circles to see who's the fastest. It doesn't make sense. And with Coach Lewis also and Tony, I eventually said, you know what, basketball isn't working for me. I got cut. And I started running track, and the rest is history. Thank you, Tony. To the 4x4, the All-State 4x4 team, can you raise your hand, please, that I was a member of? Put your hand up, Jason. Thank you. Those guys pushed me. I came in, I didn't run track until 10th grade, and I didn't take it serious in 10th grade. In 11th grade, they pushed me, and the success that they had was remarkable. All of them came into the game late, and a very impressive group. My 4x4 teammates that won states, the All-State 4x4, raise your hand, 4x8. Thank you. Those guys, we weren't known for the 4x4, but we weren't known for the 4x8. And so for Coatesville to come out and start putting out a 4x8 team, I know people were shaking their head like, oh, not Coatesville with a 4x8 team too. Thought they stopped at 400 meters. And so I appreciate you guys. I want to spend this last little bit of time just to explain our track team, because our track team was different from probably most track teams, and a lot of the coaches are probably shaking their head right now. We worked extremely hard, but we were knuckleheads, and we had a whole lot of fun. The stories we had were pretty ridiculous. Just to give you an idea, we go on a distance run, and we'd be past North, and we ran so far, we're thinking like, we can't run that same path back. We've run too far. So we were taking shortcuts through people's yards. And somebody opened up the door and let some huge dog that looked like Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street. And Nubu, who isn't here, who was supposed to be here, he had to break on the state meet at the high jump when he jumped into the tree. And so that was the fastest I think I've ever run. It was never recorded. And that's not what made us special. What made us special was about a month later, we were like, we should go buy that house with the dog. And there's a million other stories like that. I ended up shaving my head and started running with a shaved head through college. And that started we had a track meet in Virginia. They were just talking about this, I completely forgot about it. We had the wonderful idea of shaving our head. I've already asked my parents to shave my head, and they said no. And so what they started doing is walking up behind people, plugging in the clippers and going into the back of the head. And we were getting everybody. And by the time the track meet came, we all had bald heads. And I stayed with a bald head. And so I would like to thank these guys. These guys are special. We ran extremely hard. We got medal after medal after medal. We didn't leave a track meet without multiple medals. But what was special? What was very special is those group of guys, that group of coaches, this school, and I appreciate this, and thank you very much for having me. God bless you.
Please go with Bob Holder with that jacket. Okay, our next inductee, Tim Duff, for baseball. We started our evening with baseball, and we're going to end it with baseball. Tim Duff was a big bat in the lineup of the 1998 championship team. As the catcher, he also handled the pitching staff and was a real field general. Tim is the fourth player from the 1998 team to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and that speaks just how good that team was. His appearance in the top 10 of almost all offensive categories shows what a consistent hitter he was. He hit for a high average, but he was, I'm missing my reading there. He was not just a power hitter, but he hit for a high average, and his RBI totals show that he was a player who would come through and drive in clutch runs. He was such a good player that he would switch to playing third base later on. All league and all area honors came his way for his outstanding play. A great college career followed, and then 5 years in the minor leagues where he rose all the way up to the AAA level. So I present for induction into the Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Tim Duff.
What Scott failed to mention was that I had 7 career triples I'm not fast. I take that. Just want to update the record on that. So first off, I'd like to thank everybody. I thank the Hall of Fame committee for my nomination and making it in. I want to congratulate the rest of the committee, or the rest of the Hall of Fame inductees. It's an honor to be inducted with this class, with Coach Zig coming in and the 98 team that we played on. Alex, I think I share the same sentiment with you. This might get a little messy, but to go in with Zig, with the coach who kind of was the first coach that I had that helped instill the confidence with the rest of our team. That there was and we heard Mark talk about it earlier, the swagger that we had with all the team, the confidence that we had, is something that helped carry me through the rest of my career. So to be inducted with Zig is really special. Thank you, Zig. Also, the 98 team. It's hard to say what everybody meant. I played on a lot of teams, a lot of successful teams, but some of the best guys I ever played with. Played through college, national championship teams, professional level. They always stick out. Now that I've been away from the game for a little bit, I always think about kind of what makes a great team. A couple of the attributes that always kind of that come about is obviously there needs to be talent there. Top to bottom, we had a really talented team. Scott talked about it earlier, a lot of Hall of Fame inductees, but top to bottom, a lot of really good players. Confidence. We, as a team, everybody was confident. There was the swagger, and we see it throughout all the Coatesville teams, football, basketball, baseball. That's a real thing with Coatesville. Accountability. Everybody has to do their job. Everybody takes care of their work, and it gets done. Competitiveness. So amongst our team, there was the competitiveness that everybody wanted to do well, and we all pushed each other. And lastly was collective suffering. There were times in the winter when we had to do the workouts. I always remember, I think it was that 98 year when we lost the first game. It was due to some errors every day before practice, ground balls, at least 30 minutes a day, every day, and that's the year that we went on to play in the state championship. A quick story that I always think of when I think about this team. So we had success that year in the year for the high school, but that also carried over to the Legion season with the same core group of people, where we went on to win the states and go to the Mid-Atlantic regions. It ended up we had to play a lot of games in a short amount of days, so we were playing. I think we had played like 21 games in like 22 days or something like that, and we had like 7-8 guys. We borrowed guys from other teams, and we'd still win. But I'll never forget. It was late in that stretch. I was pitching. I think we were losing or something like that. I was pitching. Laurie Ziegler was playing first base. I'm not sure if you remember this, but play first. I ran over to cover first, and Laurie, we got tangled up somehow. Some guy came around to score. I had the ball. I leaned up to throw the ball. In the process of throwing the ball, I hit Louie in the face. So I essentially punched Louie in the face. And I look up, and Louie's laughing. I'm like, "What are you laughing at?" He's like, I was like, "You okay?" He's like laughing the whole time, and I was like, and he later came up and said, "So did you get the guy out at home?" And I didn't. But the point was, the fact that, I could punch Louie in the face, but also laugh, and him kind of wanting to know if the guy got out. So it's something I always think of about that team. Last, the thank yous. I'd like to thank, there's people touched on it before. There's a lot of people. I wouldn't be here today without the support of a lot of people. First, Coach Zig, for kind of bringing me up and instilling that confidence and hard work, and that helped carry me through my career. Rob Gill, another guy through Coatesville who supported me in Coatesville, after Coatesville, through the Red Man. Thank you, Gil. for everything you've done. He's not here today, Mr. Newton, Dan Newton's dad. He was one of the coaches I had coming up. I played a lot with his son, Dan, also an inductee, but I'd like to thank him. I'd also like to thank my grandparents. My grandma and my nanny Di would be delighted to be here for this. So a shout out to them. They were great throughout my whole career, supported me in everything I did. My brother, countless days in the backyard playing catch, long toss, wiffle ball. Some of the guys had been over some wiffle ball tournaments. My brother, he's one of the major reasons I'm here. Lastly, my parents. All the sacrifices, the big ones, the small ones, the day-to-day sacrifices. I see them now that I have kids, and we have to do that. Thank you for everything. I wouldn't be here today without you. Lastly, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the committee members. Also, I'd just like to a shout out to all the parents and the support people out there who help people like us stand up here and do this. It's all behind the scenes, but it needs to be called out, so thank you to all the parents and support members. Thank you.
We on time? Good. All right. That was our last inductee evening. One thing I want is tell all the inductees, we're going to need you up front here for a group photo in about a minute or two as I wrap it up. But we want all the inductees to come up front for a group photo, okay? So we will return to the country club next year with what I'm sure will be another great group of inductees. It will be our 21st annual induction ceremony. You can always plan for this banquet well in advance. It's always the third Saturday in October. So next year, the banquet date is October 17, 2020. Mark it on your calendar. Plan on attending. 3C TV, Al Ray back there manning the camera, is archiving tonight's ceremony. It'll be available to view in about 2 weeks. That's 3ctvlive.com. Is that correct, Al Ray? 3ctvlive.com in about 2 weeks is archiving this and you can view it. Also, Al Ray has a network. The Coatesville High football game this Friday night at Downingtown East. His network will be doing it. That is called chestmontfootball.com. So if you can't make the Coatesville D East game, chestmontfootball.com. Al Ray's company will be showing the game live. Okay? A couple quick announcements. Again, please check out the display in the back for the team memorabilia, posters, booklets back there for you to grab. Also, the bar in the back will be open for about a half hour, 45 minutes afterwards. So you can go back there, you can socialize, you can reminisce, you can tell some stories, some of which might actually be true. And then we'll stay open, and as long as folks are back there having a good time, we'll stay here. And thank you very much for being here. All inductees up front, please, for a group photo. We'll see you next year. Thank you, everybody.